What's up, Amazon sellers? Do you keep your supplier invoices? Well, you better be keeping them because they are some of the most important documents you are going to need within your Amazon business. Not only do they help with your accounting, but also as well, they can help with your account health when getting IP complaints and obviously fraudulent complaints as well in regards to product authenticity. So stay tuned. I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about invoices now. Right, if you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson. I've been selling on Amazon, doing online arbitrage for the last 5 years. In the UK, I'm a 7-figure Amazon seller. Check this out. In the USA, I'm a 6-figure Amazon seller. Check this out. And hopefully in the near future, we're gonna be starting another Amazon business. And if you're interested in learning how I'm doing it, what I'm doing, and what I'm learning on my journey, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Enough about me, what are we gonna go through today? Well, first things first, number one, I'm gonna go through what are the supplier invoices, or should we say receipts. Number two, I'm gonna talk about what are the different types of receipts and invoices you can get. Number three, I'm gonna talk about when will Amazon request an invoice from you. Then finally, number four, what information you should have on your invoices to obviously make sure they're likely to be accepted by Amazon. So let's get started. First things first, what are supplier invoices or receipts? Well, invoices, receipts is basically a document which shows that you've purchased a certain product. Now, you might be asking, what should I be looking for within that invoice, obviously when I'm getting it? Well, quite simply, it should be showing you the date of the transaction, the amount paid, who sold it, and obviously the purchased product. Now, it should also have what's known as a unique reference number, which is related to that individual sale. So the receipt will have a unique number, which is only for that sale, and it can be tracked. Now, that's pretty much the fundamentals of an invoice or receipt that you're going to have from any supplier. You might already know this, and you might be asking, what are the different types of invoices you can get? Quick question for you guys. Are you keeping your receipts and your invoices? Let me know in the comments down below. Give me a yes or a no. I'm interested to see how many of us are actually doing it. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, this leads me nicely onto my second chapter. What are the different types of receipts and invoices you're gonna likely see, obviously, when getting them from suppliers? Now, the first one is gonna be a till receipt. Basically, you are gonna get this kind of receipt when you're most likely gonna do what's known as retail arbitrage, going in store. When you're going in store to buy these products to resell on Amazon, the supplier is likely to give you this kind of like paper receipt, which is gonna be a till receipt. And there are generally gonna be two kinds of till receipt you're gonna get. So the first one is probably gonna be a really simplified, vague receipt. Now, I'll try to put a picture around here of what that receipt looks like, but basically it's going to be a till receipt, which will show you probably who purchased the product and how much you spent, and that's it. It's going to be very, very vague. Now, most of the time, it's not going to be very useful. Now, the next one you're going to get is going to basically be a receipt, which is going to have a lot more information about it on. So it's going to say who sold it, let's say, for example, Walmart, what the product was, the quantity purchased, the total amount paid, and maybe even more details like a barcode, for example. Now, this is still a till receipt, and it's still quite condensed, but it's going to have a lot more information on it, which shows a lot more about the purchase itself. Now, the second type of receipt you're going to probably see, or should we say, will be an online receipt or an invoice. Now, if you buy a product online, you might be asking, will you still get a receipt or an invoice? Of course, the answer is going to be yes. Basically, online stores provide their own invoices or receipts to their customers. Now, one thing I will just say is a lot of online stores also give, should we say, what's known as delivery confirmations or a confirmation email. Always remember that this, should we say, the delivery confirmation or the confirmation email is not a receipt, is not an invoice of proof of purchase. You're actually going to need to, generally speaking, a lot of the time, contact the supplier or the seller once they've delivered the goods for a copy of that receipt, and obviously get that. Now, sometimes they might send you, should we say, an invoice afterwards, but the majority of the time, you're going to have to contact them and get it from them manually. Now, what I'll do is I'll give you a walkthrough, should we say, of an invoice we have requested from one of our suppliers called Argos within the UK. So first things first, obviously you can see like it's from supplier Argos. Obviously it's got their information up here. Now this is going to be blurred, but it's got my details as well. Also the date of the purchase, you can see it's quite an old purchase. Now we've got an order number and also an order date. So you can see what we ordered back then. And then also as well, what we actually ordered. So quantity 9, the description of the product, the unit price, the VAT for tax purposes, and the cost. If we kind of scroll down, it just kind of says all more information about it. So we got like the net amount, the VAT registration numbers, and obviously their registered office as well. So lots of information on there, but that's quite a clear document which clearly shows what we purchased from who, the amount and obviously the unique reference number as well, and the date of it and how much we paid. So quite a useful document there as an invoice. Now, the majority of suppliers I have in my Amazon business, I'm going to have to request an invoice through email after the products have been delivered to my prep center. Now, what I will say is always remember that the delivery confirmation is not your invoice or not a receipt. You cannot use this delivery confirmation for proving your purchase, or for tax purposes. Interesting enough, Amazon don't even accept delivery confirmations for proof of authenticity of the goods. You need the actual invoice. Now, the third one you want to think about is what's known as a wholesale invoice. Now, this type of invoice is going to be a receipt, which you'll generally get from your wholesaler, distributor, or even manufacturer directly. Now, this invoice looks slightly different. It's pretty similar to the Argos one, but probably a little bit more information. And to show you this, let me jump on my computer now and I'll show you this receipt as well. Okay, so here we are. We've got a receipt from Harrison's Direct. This is a wholesaler in the UK. And if I just kind of zoom in and talk you some information. So up the top here, first things first, we've got obviously Harrison's Direct, who they are, their address details here. We've got their VAT number. We've got my details here. So you can see obviously that's going to be blurred, but also where I'm delivering it to. So my office and my delivery address. Obviously I use a prep center because I live now in Mexico. Now, quite simply, if we kind of go across, we've got at the top right, we've got here information about the actual product. So, or should I say the order, invoice number for the receipt, our account number, references, and they'll be blurred as well, and the document date. Now, if we come down to the actual product, you can see there's multiple lines of the different products we've ordered. So quantity 1111, single, we've ordered like a radio controlled car, Lego, kind of like fire engine welcome packs example, item code, also trade price, line total VAT, and they do add them up for us. And then down the bottom, we can see the total VAT and obviously how much I paid, and then thank you. So it kind of talks about all the information we look for. It's pretty similar to the Argos one, just a little bit more information, a bit more detail. So there you have it. We've got 3 different types of invoices or different types of receipts, the till receipts, and we talked about the kind of really basic one, which isn't good, the one with a lot more detail. And then we've got the one from like the online, should we say, online retail stores or shopping where online, which we still have to go fetch. And then finally, we've got the obviously invoice receipt from the wholesaler, manufacturer, or distributor, which obviously you saw there just a minute ago. Now, just a reminder for you, if you are selling in the UK, you might want to check what's known as HMRC's guidance for what is an official invoice. Generally speaking, if your invoice meets what's known as HMRC simplified invoice requirements, that's for anything under £250 worth of purchases, you're generally fine. Anything above that, you'll need the full invoice. And what I'll do is I'll drop a link down below to that HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs guidance, so you can see that. Now, what I will say is Amazon UK doesn't tell us what they need, from an invoice for when you submit it, but a good guide is if it meets HMRC's guidance on your invoice for VAT purposes, then you're probably going to be good for, should I say, Amazon as well. So I probably recommend checking that and just making sure that your invoice you're getting has all those right parts on it. Now, you might be asking why are invoices so important? So let's proceed to the next chapter, which is about understanding when Amazon are going to request invoices. So this leads me nicely onto my third chapter. When will Amazon request an invoice from you? First things first, not so much requesting, but you're going to have to provide one, is for ungating. Now, if you're buying items for the purposes of ungating, you're going to be needing to buy them from wholesalers, distributors, or manufacturers, and you're going to need to get an invoice from them. And these invoices are going to help you get ungated in maybe a category or a brand, and you're going to need to provide that invoice to Amazon to show that you purchased it from a legitimate authorized supplier, manufacturer, wholesaler, or distributor. Now, the top tip for you, just make sure you are buying 10 or more units of the item that you want to use to get ungated in. Now, the second reason why you're going to need an invoice is for IP complaints. If Amazon has, should we say, a complaint of inauthenticity or reasons to believe that your products could be inauthentic, they're going to ask you to provide an invoice, and obviously you're going to have to show that to them. So just make sure you keep a record of all your products, but also collect the invoices in, because Amazon can ask for invoices going back even a couple of months, and they say it's got to be representative of the quantity that you're selling. So just make sure if you've been buying it across lots of invoices, you've got them. Now, if Amazon think a product is fake or inauthentic, they are going to ask you to prove they are not, or where you purchased them from, through, you should say, the use of showing us invoice to prove that you purchased from a legitimate supplier. Now, the third reason why you're going to need invoices is quite simply for tax purposes. If you're in the UK or even in the EU, you're going to probably need to reclaim taxes such as VAT, and you're going to need to show show that you've actually paid it by way of having a VAT receipt or VAT invoice. So getting those correct invoices, correct receipts with the correct VAT number of the supplier that you purchased from means that you can now reclaim that money from the government, or should we say from your sales, as part of HMRC's process for reclaiming taxes. But obviously the invoice is going to support you if you were to ever be audited by HMRC. Okay, so today we're talking about invoices, getting the right invoices, selling on Amazon, for all the various reasons. Now, the one thing which I'll say is selling on Amazon is hard work. My God, there's so much to do. You've got to find the products, you've got to ship them, package them, ship them, get them to Amazon, reprice them, sell them. Obviously now even get invoices like we're talking about just takes time. So saving time is super important. And if you're like me, you understand the value of your time, and you probably understand how hard sourcing for products is and how time consuming it is. So if you want to save time and obviously speed up your Amazon business and grow faster, then do look at FastTrackFBA leads. This is a service I created whereby we find leads 7 days a week in both the UK and the USA using our team of VAs. We've got them working all the time throughout both marketplaces. What do? We put them onto our platform. You can come in, you buy tokens, you review the deals, you get to pick and choose the deals that you want, and then exchange tokens for those deals, unlock the supplier URL, Amazon ASIN, and quite simply buy low, resell high on Amazon for a profit. FastTrackFBA leads, no one does anything like it, and it puts you back in control, saving you time and allowing you to buy deals when you want. Check it out. I'll drop a link down below, FastTrackFBA leads. So this leads me nicely onto my fourth chapter. What information should your invoice have on it? So if you've got an Amazon authenticity complaint, or if Amazon's asking for proof of purchase, then you've got to be thinking about what invoice or what should your invoice actually contain before you send it to them, obviously for them to accept it. So for this, let me share my invoice about Harrison's Direct and obviously go through that for you now. So let's jump back on the computer. Okay, so first things first, number one, invoice. Now, generally speaking, we want that word invoice on there, and that's going to be, show that it's an invoice or maybe a receipt to show that you've actually purchased these products. Why? It just shows what the document is and obviously states that it's not a confirmation order or something, but it's actually a delivery receipt, or sorry, it's an invoice or should we say a proof of purchase. Now, the second one you want to think about is the supplier's information. So really thinking about there, like making sure that it's got who you purchased it from, their name, their contact details, their address, maybe a website, if they've got one. Not all wholesalers will put all that information on, but generally speaking, you want the more information, the better about who you purchased it from, so that you can say, yes, this actually came from them. Now, the third one you want to be thinking about is the buyer information. So ideally, you want your buyer information on the invoice as well. This shows you who it was sold to, and obviously it shows that you are the actual purchaser of the product. Now, in my case, obviously I do have a company, so it's going to put my company name, but also, well, if it includes my name as an individual, that should be fine. There shouldn't be a problem. Ideally, you'd want to have some information about you as a buyer on there. That's going to be fantastic. Now, the fourth thing you've got to be looking at is the purchase date. Now, Amazon do stipulate when they require an invoice, it has to be within the last 365 days. So it's important to make sure you've got a date on the actual invoice, and Amazon are going to be checking that to make sure it's a recent invoice. Now, the fifth one to think about is Amazon also wants to see the purchase details. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means the products you're actually buying. So obviously the name of the product, if it's got a barcode, even better, but also the quantity that you're looking at as well. So really looking at that, making sure that it actually clearly states what you've purchased and the quantities as well. And obviously the more detail on that, the better. Now, what I will say is, should we say, invoices are super important for your Amazon business, not only for ungating, but also for product authenticity complaints. But if you want to know more about, should we say, the ungating side, then what I'll do is I'll leave a playlist around here of videos I've created in the past about how to get ungated using an invoice. Check that out. Now, what I will say is hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, give me a big thumbs up. And hey, if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button down below. But what I will say is, for myself, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.